Okay, so we're going to be talking about communication a little bit more in the way. Hi, welcome. In the way communication is right, hidabrut, in the way it relates to the upcoming Chag that we're about to go in, Chag Pesach. So the truth is, everything that we do on Pesach is communication. Pesach, the word itself, Pesach, is peh, sach. That the mouth, sach, even though it's samechet, but samech, no, but samech and sin are interchangeable. It says that in the Gemara, so it's fair to do that, you know. And Nisan, the month of Nisan, is Pesach twice. So Gematria Pesach is 2 times. So Nisan has to do with Pesach once, but also Pesach of like a future sort of Pesach. So we'll talk about that, how that relates. So how does Pesach relate to speech, to communication? So the question is, what is communication, right? Communication, they say that more than 80% of communication is body language. Do you know that? You know body language? Sfat guf, right? Body language, yes. I just heard a story today about a teacher that came from the States. She didn't know any Hebrew, and she had a whole group of students that she did drama with. She was and she said she communicated to the students with her eyes. Yeah. And she transformed the whole school to become like a different, like, you know, different sort. She eventually learned a little bit more Hebrew, but she did it with her eyes. So communication is definitely, we know definitely it's not just words, but communication is how a person uses the words and how a person is one with the words that he's speaking, he or she is speaking. That's really communication. That's why in Israel, many Mediterranean countries, like, you know, Italy, maybe even Spain, Latin countries, Mexico, people speak with their hands a lot. They move with their hands, and they're saying so much with their hands, sometimes more with their hands than with their mouth, right, than what they're saying. Why do people speak with their hands? Because people speak with their hands because they have an emotion that they can't convey. They can't say it within their words. So they have an emotion. They want to know that you want to. So if this is your thing, you know that the guy is kind of nervous. You want to, like, you know, okay, get it fast. Like, let's get this over with. If the person is relaxed, so you know, okay, you're chilled out. That's what they're communicating to you. So how is Pesach express that? How does Pesach do that for us, and what lessons do we get from it? Okay, basically, how do we become better communicators and thereby really become redeemed? So the question is, what is the connection between communication and redemption? Redemption, Geula. What is communication and redemption? So I'll let you just absorb that question. מה הקשר בין גאולה לתקשור, דיבור, תקשורת, right? What's the correlation between the two? So anybody want to share?
I think that people can bring the geula, so they can only do this by תקשורת.
By communicating.
Yeah.
Okay, but how? But what is the communication? You're right, but how does it do it? Like, what is the connection between the two? And what? Huh? Musar, the morale. Yep, but it's deeper than that, because you're saying that you're right. That's good. It does it, but how? And what is the kesher ben geula letikshur? In other words, kesher apnimi, the real connection between the two. Anybody else? People. Yeah, but people are. It doesn't mean that. But how does people connect you with geula?
Because you can only לתקן את העולם if you לתקן את בני אדם.
Okay, but each person has to do their own work. So why is it that I need to communicate to somebody else that they should do their thing?
that we help each other to the Geulah. So
Oh, we help each other. Yeah.
And we are talking and do good things for the Geulah.
Yeah.
We can't do things to another people because without the communication.
Yeah. Without communication, you can't have an effect on others. Yeah, 100%. And that's why, by the way, communication right now is going through the roof. This is a form of communication online, on your phone, on on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on I mean, it goes on and on. Everybody's communicating through SMS, through WhatsApp, through this and that. We're like, we're over communication right now, right? But the only reason why this is so spiraling out of control so much, you know what I'm saying, is because of the importance of communication, and because we're so close to the Geulah, to the redemption. We're so close. That's why there's such an abundance. There's so much of modes of communication. It's happening like in an unbelievable way right now on your phone. You just like live stream. It's going on right now, basically. Yeah, and I'm bringing out the question even more. I'm bringing out the question. You're right that we're affecting people. We have a connection to people through communication, but it's more than that. There's a deeper connection. Yeah.
מתי אני לא יכולה לדברת? אני מרגש מוטרדת. So maybe כאילו זה גאולה, אני שיחה. I feel free.
Okay. So what Chana said is that when she can't communicate, when she can't express something, she feels trapped.
כאילו מתי אני אומרת עברית, I feel trapped.
Yeah, because you don't have the words to express yourself. And in a different language, when you don't have the words to express yourself, you feel a little bit trapped because you can't use the same words that you can freely use in your language and etc. So you feel a little bit.
So we're talking about the private Geulah?
Exactly. So there's a private Geulah and a collective Geulah. So very good. So now the idea of speech is dibul. Dibul is also another name for a melech, a king. And a davar, ledaber, has to do with taking a thought and bringing it out to the practical. Exactly, very, very good. To the exact, that's exactly what dibul is. Dibul is practical, taking the idea and now implementing it down into the practical thing. So a king is somebody that lives in their palace. They're very, very aloof, removed from the rest of the world, of their kingdom. But how do they have a relationship with the kingdom? So it says Dvar Melech Shilton. The pasuk says, Shlomo Melech says, Dvar Melech Shilton. So what is Shilton? Is the ability to ledaber, to communicate what the king wants to say over, and that now gives over. Wow! Hey, how are you? Welcome.
Wow.
Is that a mazel tov?
Alex,
It is a mazel tov.
Hey.
Sorry, I remember that.
Cool.
Hi, welcome. Come on in.
Probably called, what is it called? You sat here.
No, I don't. I'm totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Can we switch one of these? You're sitting here. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go there.
Sit there, and then that way you'll be facing everyone.
Yeah.
Because otherwise.
Are you good? Okay. How are you? Mazel tov.
Okay.
Sorry, mazel tov. Still.
I came to Israel yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. We should all have good mazel.
We're gonna lose a few people.
Oh no. Let's get cheers. Hi, how are you? Welcome back. Okay. You're feeling comfortable, right? You have tea.
You're good.
Good people. Good vibes. We're all right.
Sorry.
Okay.
I sat behind. It's not. I don't feel.
Okay. Got me. Okay. Switching. right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry to give you motion sickness.
Oh, people on the.
Okay. All right. Wow. I thought the week before Pesach was going to be like 2 people, and I was like, yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. So, hey, so we're just going, just a quick recap of what we're saying. You're going? Okay, great. So quick recap. We're talking about the correlation, the connection between redemption and communication, right? Because the upcoming holiday of Pesach is called, the name of it itself, you say Passover, but actually the Hebrew etymology of the word is peh, the mouth, sach, the mouth speaks. And that means that we become redeemed through speech. I mean, it's what we do during the Seder night. Everybody's yapping away, speaking. Everybody's got their thoughts of Torah, and everybody's speaking, and then you're finally, until you get to the food, there's a while. So we become redeemed through speech, right? And the question is, we were asking before, what is the correlation between the two? And also, just a quick recap again, is that the time that we live in right now, we are inundated. We're like swamped by modes of communication through social media, through our devices, through our vices, through our everything that we have. It's all about communication. So, and that's very, very significant, because like the time that we're in right now is really, we're on the cusp of a great, redemption, of a great revelation of that's going to happen. And basically communication is a major part of that. And also I would say, just to add on to that the negative communication, right, is also part of that. So there's the other side. There's the positive part of communication, but there's the negative part of communication that the media plays a lot. And when we talk about like celebrities, and we talk about like, the news and what's in the news, and all that becomes conveyed to people, and there could be a bias in the media. There could be a tremendous amount of problems that come out of that. And also, by the way, I mean, raise your hand if you do this. If you go right to the comment section, you read an article, but you just jump right to you do that. I just saw that nod. You jump right to the comments, because that's where the juicy stuff is. And you want to hear the person just go off on the other. So that's a dangerous form of communication, which is what? How's it dangerous?
It's open speech.
Oh.
It's open speech, but open speech. And we'll talk about speech. So that's good. Very fair question. Very, very fair question. There's open speech. So okay. So we're talking about. Okay,
Wow.
great. No.
You have a talent here.
Yeah. So, yeah, just careful not to fall over. No lawsuits in Ascent. We're very particular about that. Okay. So we're saying actually communication, and I'm sorry I'm repeating this again, but communication is 80% body language, at least. Like, in other words, you don't have to even say much. And there was a Rebbe, his name was Rebbe Yitzchak Avorki, that was his name. And he was called the Silent Rebbe. And he had thousands of students of Hasidim. And they all used to join him for his gathering. And they used to sit there in quietness. And after a couple of hours, like literally 3 hours or so, everybody walked out. Like, did you hear that? That was so deep. So we're getting to trying to understand communication. So we were saying that a king is somebody that has a perfect grasp on communication, that they're able to communicate what they desire in a form of speech, right? But we're aware of kings that do that for their own power, kind of like the skewed media. People speak out and they just say things and etc. But a real king, okay, and this gets into the form. How do we get into the form of like correct communication? Is that a king in Hebrew is a composite of 3 letters: mem, lamed, and chaf, right? Melech. That's a melech, as a king. And a word for, and melech is also a davar, a speaker. So what are these 3 letters? Mem, lamed, chaf. Sorry, mem is moach. Mem is lamed is lev, and the chaf or kaf could be kaved. Melech is somebody that has his moach, lev, and kaved. That is in line, and it says that Kol Yisrael, that Kol Yisrael melachim, that all of Israel, in other words, everybody has the potential to be a king and a queen. Everybody has that potential to be. But how are you a king? By having a grasp of what you're thinking about, and then what you're feeling, and then kaved is your liver, but your liver is like the end all of everything. In other words, it's the proactive level. It goes into it's where the blood becomes circulated and goes actually, or filtered, and it goes into your whole, that's your vitalizing part of your essence. So a king is somebody that has control over these three faculties, and therefore, when a person has control over these 3 faculties, they're actually a king, and they're not a slave anymore. They're not an eved, right? The difference between an eved and a king is the 2 opposites of the whole spectrum of the kingdom. There's the slave, lowest person, and there's the king, who's the highest person. And on the Seder night, we're supposed to sit there like what? Like kings, right? You're supposed to sit there with a nice pillow, right? You're supposed to lean back. It's part of the eating of the matzah and the drinking of the wine is that you're supposed to feel like a king. And in fact, some people have a custom that somebody else's, if they could afford, like, I don't know, whatever they could afford, a maid or whatever it is, somebody who goes and washes their hands and serves, etc. But if not, some people have a custom that they do it for the other person. There's a little bit of an issue with that because then you're serving somebody else and you're like, okay. But anyways, but that it comes from everybody having this feeling of coming out of Egypt and feeling like a king, and that's coming out of slavery. So Chana said before that being enslaved, right? Being enslaved means that a person cannot express themselves properly. They can't express who they are. Today we were cracking nuts with my kids. We were cracking nuts and walnuts for the Passover. So I wanted to listen to the Nutcracker. Anybody likes classical music? I like classical music. So we're listening to the Nutcracker as we were cracking the nuts. And we got into a discussion. We went to Mozart and we just started discussing like these geniuses of people that really the world thought of them as insane, pretty much. Right? Mozart was almost like institutionalized. Beethoven was like suicide. Like these people were like these geniuses, and the only way that they could express themselves is through the form of communication of what? Of music. Right? That was their. Otherwise, they would go insane. Like you have somebody like that, like Mozart. Like if any of you know a little bit of that biography, I mean, that he was like this person that had all these abilities, these genius sparks within him, but he has no way to like express it, right? So he has no way to express it. So then he's in captivity, and he is basically about to go mad and suicidal, and because there's no reason to live because I can't express myself, and therefore, he was basically in the worst form of exile, of right, being being stuck in themselves. So our lack of ability to express ourselves, to come out and to really say and to really be who we are on our higher self, on our higher level, which is really the ability to express our moach, lev, and kaved, basically the ability to express that adequately and to be free of that, to be free of our constrictions. So then that allows us to really be in a state of redemption, okay? It may sound very, very simple, but this is basically, according to Kabbalah, according to the AriZal, this is like the meditation of the night. Meditation of the night, according to Kabbalah, is that we are all small children. And we're sitting there, and that's why the Passover night, there's a small child, a ben, right? There's all the child is asking, ma nishtana, right? Everybody's asking, ma nishtana. And it's all about the children. It's about reaching into the children, reaching into their mind frame. And any of you that are involved with young children, or remember being a young child, or is a young child, then you know that there is sometimes a lack of reason, and they kids just do things, and they want to do things, and they will do things that don't make sense, that there's a lack of what we call dat. There's a lack of mindfulness in what they're doing, because that's what they are. They're a young, immature person. They're supposed to be doing that. It's nothing abnormal that a kid throws a toy at somebody else. Okay, if he does it too much, you gotta speak to him and stuff, but it's not absolutely crazy. They don't know what's gonna, the impact of that is gonna hit some, they'll find it out, but you can't blame them. So there's a lack of that, and therefore the kid is immature. Naturally, they don't have a dat. And that's what we are, really. I mean, all of us hopefully are still like children in our personalities, and we have that childlike mystique, and curiosity about us. But we are all basically have a lack of dat. It's not just us that are saying. King David says this, right? Vani ba'al velo eda. I'm like a complete imbecile. I'm a fool. Velo eda be'emot hayiti mach. I'm like animals. I'm like an animal by you, Hashem. King David says to God. So King David says that. He was a tremendous scholar. I don't have to tell you who King David is. Even just the name itself just evokes. But King David says that I am a complete, right, animal. I have no dot, right? And King David is actually called a son by Hashem. He's like a child, and right, like Beni, ani ayom yelideticha, I've given birth to you today. So on the Seder night, we're all that small child that is having a leap, sort of like a leap of faith. I mean, we're going out of ourselves. According to the AriZal, the first night of Passover, there's a tremendous revelation of light, of Or, by the Seder night. By the Seder night, everybody sits there, and there's a great awakening of light that comes down from Shamayim. The Zohar speaks about what's going on in heaven, that all the angels are all there's a huge orchestra, so to speak, of angels that are up in the heaven, and on the night that everything was opened up, and all the gates of heaven are open up. And it says that that's the day also of the resurrection of the dead. By the way, some people have a custom to put on a kittel, a white garb, because of that, the resurrection of the dead didn't happen. Traditionally happens then. The birth of Isaac, very, very deep things, a lot of huge things, and the Zohar says that we're supposed to say the Haggadah with a loud voice, or with a clear voice. We're supposed to say the Haggadah. And through saying the Haggadah with that voice, we come out of our restrictions, out of our exile, because of this awakening up above, and we receive a certain illumination of light. And our participation in our speaking and our what we say, specifically the Haggadah, which is all about speaking, kind of like helps us climb out of this enslavement that we're in. Just by the way, I heard an unbelievable like idea that whoever knows this, like you get 20 shekel
Really?
or $20. How many words are there in the Haggadah?
600.
No. Good guess.
Alex knows.
Okay. What? Kama milim b'Haggadah.
Wait, we have to think about this. There's money. It's
1,001.
No. Okay.
1,800.
Okay, I made 20 shekel. So I'm happy. I didn't spend it. No, so I'll tell you. You're probably not going to guess it. No, you're probably not going to guess it. There's 1,820 words in the Haggadah. 1,820.
We have to know this because that's the line in the Torah that's the Rosh Chodeshim, like this is 10 of the months for you.
Okay, that too, but there's something else. 1,820 words in the Haggadah. Sorry, it's like kind of like a tangent, but I think it's very cool. And what's that? Why is that number significant? Because there's 1,820 times that God's name, the Tetragrammaton, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is mentioned in the whole Torah. 1,820 times that God's name appears in the Torah. There's 1,820 words of the Haggadah. So, meaning that every word of the Haggadah is like a revelation of godliness that we're actually speaking, and like we're saying like another name of God. Each one of them is another form of expression, highest form of expression. This is what happens on the Seder night. So on the Seder night, we basically become redeemed through speech. So now, I wanna like expand upon like speech. Like, why is it such a redemptive thing? So we kind of like said, moach, lev, and kaved, that your speech is based on on if your mind is in control of it. Now, according to Kabbalah, actually, speech relates to the highest form of ourselves. So the speech is the lowest part. If you know the Sphira chart, right? The lowest form is Malchut, which is associated with speech. But then Malchut is associated with Keter, with crown. That's why a Melech has a Keter, because the highest most, it's a rule. It's a rule in Kabbalah that the highest most revelation is connected to the lowest most revelation. Na'utz tchilatam besofam. The highest most is connected to the lowest most, right? So Malchut, kingship, is connected to crown. So crown isn't moach anymore, right? It goes on top of the moach. That's what a crown is. When somebody wears a crown, they wear it on top of their skull, which is your skull. Inside of it is where your brain is, where your moach is, where moach, chokhmah, bina, and dat is in all the sides, the lobes of the brain, etc. But a crown is worn on top of that. That means that it is way above even intelligence, even that, and that's the root of speech. And Chassidus explains that when a person speaks something, so then what happens is when they speak something, so they actually get new revelations through speech. I don't know if that ever happened to you, but when you speak something, when you say things, when you say it, when you think about it, then that's nice. But when you speak it sometimes, so then you actually get the revelation on a much deeper level. That's why especially women are more connected to speech than men. The Talmud says.
So when you speak, it comes out faster than when you're just thinking.
It's not supposed to be that way. No, it's not supposed to be that way. It's actually the stream of thoughts are much faster than your speech. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was a stutterer, because he couldn't express that into speech. So his mode of speech was different. His mode of speech is the Torah. That's the ultimate expression. Like we'll get to that. Which is the connection also to the Agada, whatever, the words of and the names of God. But anyways, that's what women are more associated with speech than men, right? That's why women, if you give them a phone, then that's it, right? Over. Well, nowadays it's like texting. You get, over text. But the Talmud says that 10 modes of speech came down to the world, and women took 9. But the idea is not just, women, but actually women are connected to Malchut. Women are associated with Malchut. That's what women are, that expression really of Malchut. And that's why speech is more natural for women than men. Even in a relationship between guys and girls, the guys usually don't speak a lot. The guys usually are like, what's wrong? Like, whoa, like what happened? They can't express what is going on inside of them. Well, what shifted things. Guys are like that. Yes,
Do they feel like that? They feel like trapped, or they feel like that's
guys. Yes, guys have a problem of expressing. Whereas the woman, the girl, is be able to talk about the whole thing. Oh yeah, let's talk about it. Because by a woman, by the feminine, it's much more. And the feminine, by speaking, even when she speaks to her friends, it's therapy, because now you get a new understanding about yourself, about what you need to do. You understand yourself much more because you spoke it out to your friend bounced it off of you, and now you get new realizations by speaking. Whereas guys are not naturally like that. Guys will hang out with each other, they'll hang out with each other, drink a beer, go fishing, I don't know, whatever. What?
Fly a drone.
Fly a drone.
Experiment fly a drone.
I have not done that yet. But there's less of like real, like deep talk. They're like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's pretty good.
No, those are very simple guys, man. You get somebody
I
with
know.
hyperactive or ADHD, they're going to be talking a lot.
Well, by the way, talking about that, I have a master's in special education, and I know kids with ADHD, and anybody that has like a little bit of that, right? ADD, is actually brilliant. It's a form of brilliance because there's so much light inside of their minds, neurons, and are just connecting all the time. So then they just have to like say everything very quickly, and they need this to speak because it grounds them in their realization of what it is that they're, what they're thinking even. So it's a weird thing because speech is not supposed to be that way. Speech is supposed to be the mind's canvas, like the mind is now, just like, you see things on this. So speech is like just expressing exactly on the mind, but we're saying that actually it goes even beyond your intelligence and your thoughts. Even it goes to the level of crown. It goes to the level of like what we call keter, that place which is called the superconscious. Superconscious is our primal self. It's our essential self. It comes before our intelligence. It comes to the essence of who we are. That's what speech is. Speech is expressing not just an idea, not just conveying an idea. It's conveying our very essence, our very self. That's really what speech is.
Yeah, like your emotions, whatever you're feeling, you can convey this way. But you said also body language is very important because somebody could be saying one thing, but you can see that they're really feeling another way.
Exactly. Exactly. So you have, let's take the example, exactly perfect, of a professor. A professor that's sitting there in the front of the auditorium, and they're monotone, speaking, saying. There's a lot of brilliance going on, but they're just saying blah, 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 blah. You're bored. You can't wait to get out. That when is the semester going to be over? You're just like, But that person is giving over information, but they're not communicating. They're not communicating. They're expecting the students to pass the test, to write their paper, to do all that work, but they're not communicating anything to the student. They're not communicating themselves, which is what I'm trying to say. That's what communication is. Communication is the self which is now expressed. It's not the mind that's expressed. It's the self that's expressed. So if so, how's the self accessed? So the answer is it's accessed through speech, because speech connects and it kind of like bounces off crown. It's like a ping pong, it goes all the way up, ding, and it goes back down, ding, ding, and like, oh, I got that realization, and now it's expressed down here, and that realization, and it expresses the deepest essence of a person, right? So the question is, why? What is it about crown that actually does that, right? So first of all, I mentioned this, I think, last week, or that there was my wife, God bless her, is very like soft spoken, and she was like, even with her actual like throat, like she's not able to like speak so loudly. So she went to a woman that lived over here in Tzfat to do voice therapy. So different teachers have different techniques. Voice therapy. How do you use your voice? How do you do that? This particular person, brilliant person, her name is Miriam Arman. She lives now in Tveria. She's like a world-class expert in voice therapy. She trained like cantors and opera singers and things like that. Very interesting woman. She herself lost her voice. She was mute. She was in exile, like she was mute, for I don't know how long, for a while. I don't know what happened. But anyways, she did a lot of research. She went to experts, whatever, but she did research on her own to try to figure out where voice comes from. Where does it originate from? And she found out, even biologically, on our skull, like we have an opening over here in between our eyes, right? There's like an opening, third eye, whatever it is, and then that like connects to like on top of our head, like we have like we're not like a circle. Our skulls aren't circular, right? They're on top. There's like kind of like points upwards is the top of the skull, and that point is like that top of the skull is kind of like where there's like a crevice, there's a groove almost of air that goes through our skull, that there's right and our brain. And that air is very important for speech to be expressed. So some people, when they speak from their bellies, or they speak from their throat, and they're like pushing it out. And the speech, they're not communicating what they're saying, because they're pushing it out. They're not channeling it down. This is what she figured out. They're not channeling speech from its proper source. Speech does not originate here. It doesn't originate in the stomach. It originates from a higher place. And if a person is able to recognize, to draw down speech instead of push up speech, so then they'll be, and the way and she has like a whole long number of classes on this. So then a person's able to heal their throat and heal the way that they communicate. And she said, by the way, you could only communicate truthful things, words, because the minute you're saying non-truthful words, you're not really able to channel the speech itself, because you're saying lies, and if you're saying lies, it can't fully come out. You could maybe hear it, but it's not really communicated. And therefore, somebody that wants to always have their speech in line and in sync with their higher self, with their level of crown, Keter, they have to be always speaking words of meaning, of truth, of helping, of kindness, etc. So she was not an observant person, in terms of her study and whatnot. But then she found out this information. Wasn't out there on her own. And then she found out that it's actually found in the Zohar. It's found in Kabbalah. That this is the origin of speech. Origin of speech is from the level of Keter. And when we speak, we're breathing, we're bringing in speech, and it comes through our crown, and then it's channeled outwards that way. And this is what the Zohar says about it. And she started finding out more and more. She started learning more and more about it, and she was shocked, and she made it basically her life mission to like teach people about this and to help people, that have issues. And all types of people have issues that they're in their incarceration and they can't speak. Some kids, for example, have issues speaking for whatever reason.
I worked with a little boy who his issues with speaking. His voice was so soft you couldn't hear him. Eventually, I learned from his hands, and when he learned to speak, he also came alive. Meaning, he started playing with other kids. It was so intimately connected. His speech and him, I don't know, acting like a 4-year-old at 4-year-old level.
In other words, his intelligence was now.
Yeah, he was
more
as he started speaking, he was running all over the place.
It's amazing, and you have kids that have issues from all types of traumas and whatnot. That even they say one of the reasons for being muted, someone just doesn't speak, is because there's a certain fear or sort of like a paranoia that happened when they were a child or something like that. So then speech is very inhibited, and they have a lack of an ability because of this fear. Even when you scare somebody, you could cause them to really like recoil, and it could be like dangerous. Not supposed to like really do that. It's funny, but it could be practical, but it's kind of dangerous. Yeah, and a person could kind of like lose their and we believe in the idea that the soul kind of like recoils and goes into kind of like hides away, and therefore speech is in a place of incarceration. So crown, right? Crown is, according to Kabbalah, crown is our like super conscious. It's like where our pre-thoughts are, because we know we in our brain, like we use what percentage of our brain? Maybe 80% of it. Again, 90%.
We use like different percentages at different times.
Most people, I think, use between 10-20%, maybe 15%.
Yeah, for sure.
So what happens to the brain? God didn't create a brain, 85% of a brain for no reason. It's not just, extra space. Why didn't God just create 15%, of our, what's the point of having this huge? Because we've got a tremendous amount of like subconscious. We've got a tremendous amount of realizations and deep realizations that we're realizing every single second that we're not even aware of. And this is called, I'm sorry?
Science is not even aware yet.
We're what?
I mean, that's what scientists know at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it's true. It's
That,
what we know.
it's what we know.
We're using like a certain amount of percentage.
Right.
Like what we're just,
Exactly. No, for sure it's used. That's what I'm saying. It's not used. That part of our brain is used, but it's used in a different way. In other words, that part of our brain is the seat of the neshama, right? It says that the neshama is seated, right? Comes into the body, like it's within the mind, right? And then it goes to the heart and goes to the rest of the body, etc. So another word for neshama, the soul, is mazal, right? Mazal, like it says that each soul has a mazal, has a certain mazal. Why? Because mazal is the letters nozel. Nozel is trickling down, right? It says that somebody has mazal. When you say to somebody mazel tov, for example, mazal tov, what is mazel tov really?
Goodness just flow through you.
So most people don't know what it means, but it means that mazal, that the constellation, literally mazal means a constellation, but for you, that your essence should be dripping with much more revealed goodness, basically, because it could be hidden. But when we have a realization, it's nozel. That's why it drips down, and when we have a realization of something, so then it says that that it comes from the neshama. Mazalo, right? And it says, by the way, today is Mazalo Gover. It says on the birthday of an individual, the mazal of a person is Gover, strong, right? That the mazal of the individual. Why? Because they're born on a certain day, in a certain time, a certain constellation, and they come from that, and their soul came down to the world within that time frame, how everything was situated, and it came down that way, and it trickles down into the person's life, basically, in the person's time and space and body. It trickles down, and they have an abundance of that on that day that their very soul came down. So, by the way, today is a very important actual birthday. Mazal, it's a birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and it's a very, very auspicious time. It's a very, very strong time, because we have a mazal of each and every one of us has a mazal. Our birthdays are very, very special, but when you have a mazal of a neshama klalit, of a general soul, the soul of a tzaddik, a soul of an individual that had such an impact still on millions and millions and millions of people, right, throughout the world, like literally still on a daily basis. You have that sort of, that means that now is a renewed strength of kochot going on in this very day, Yud Aleph Nisan, the day of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's birthday. So it's a very, very special time to actually take in and like to bask in that mazal, because that mazal isn't just for him, but it's a mazal for us, because we're basically the Rebbe was and still is this unbelievable leader that has this effect over all of us, right? And still the tzaddik of this generation. So anyways, so the seat of the mazal, of the neshama, is not felt, is not known by us. We don't know what a neshama really is, what a soul is. We just get trickled down. We get like different like awareness. Sometimes we get certain awareness. We get like intuition about things at certain times, and that intuition comes from a dripping down of the mazal that goes into a person. Like, for example, a person feels they shouldn't go to a certain place, or they should go to a certain place. Something's drawing them to a certain place in a good way, so that is the mazal is not telling them, the soul is giving them an awareness that they should be doing this, or they should stay away from it. So we get that, but we don't know what it is. So the soul is within a person, and it's situated within a person's brain, not the entire soul, but the way it relates to them in the body, in their crown chakra. Like, in other words, in their keter, on the level of our keter is where we're basically, we have the essence of our souls, of who we are. So the soul is not expressed. It trickles down, but it's not expressed. When does the soul become expressed? When the person is communicating. Through communication, and by the way, an Adam, a man, or an atom, a level of a human, is called, that's the highest level, is called the medaber, it's called the speaker. That's the advantage of being human. Whereas this is written by the Maimonides, by the Rambam, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, he talks about we have inanimate, we have the vegetative, we've got the living, and then we've got the medaber. He calls it medaber. He doesn't call it Adam. He doesn't call it human. He calls them the speaking species. In other words, our species is special because we speak. The cow also has a spirit. Everything in creation has a spirit. The inanimate, the rock, the AriZal says, has a soul to it. We don't see the soul. It's in major captivity, the soul. By the way, the AriZal has a book called Sefer Gilgulim, called Reincarnations. And when there could be a possibility of a person reincarnating in a rock. Yeah. or in water for certain sins, or in a cow, or in a dog, or in a cat, right? A person could reincarnate in that, but that is exactly the pain of that. And it's what?
She's asking, couldn't you also be reincarnated into an animal like that?
Yes, based on their actions in this world, they could be reincarnated in something lower than them, or it could be a higher reincarnation.
Or the other way, can rock be reincarnated?
So a rock, everything in creation has a spirit to it, but you could have you could have a reincarnated soul that's within the rock that needs to feel that pain of not expressing itself because it really has a human soul, but it's a rock and it can't speak ever, or it's a cow and all it could do is say moo, right? It's a behema.
Also, as a soul, you can't speak. You don't have a mouth.
Yes, it does. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly the point. That the soul itself is a communicator. That the soul itself is a communicator, and up above it communicates, right? It receives communication, but it also communicates, right? Up above. And by the way, it says in the Talmud that up above in the world of souls, there's constant learning, there's constantly a academies that we go to. Like, you go up from a higher level to a higher level, more and more learning, more and more communication. And basically this all takes us to this leads us to understand this idea of freedom. So when we're able to communicate and we're able to come out of our animal self, which is basically the behema. The behema is the animal, and behema, by the way, is gematria ben. So who knows, animal or son, kid is like a little animal. And it says, but it says this in the verse, Adam Pere, who says that a man is born, or a kid is basically born like a wild animal. So we have that animal, behema, gematria ben, right? And what do we do during the Seder night? We say the ma nishtana. The ma is we're saying the behema. We're asking the ma nishtana. We're coming out of our animal form of being incarcerated in the animal self, in the person's selfish self, to now become a ma, to become what's ma. Ma is actually gematria Adam. Behema is ben, and it's the animal self, but ma 45 is gematria Adam. Right? And that is what we say chokhmah. Chokhmah, like real wisdom, is the letters koach ma, is the power of ma, the power of what? And basically a person taps into where do they receive their chokhmah from? A chokhmah me'ayin timatzeh. A chokhmah comes from ayin. Chokhmah comes from keter, actually. That your intelligence really comes from that, from somewhere else. It comes from the ethereal. It comes from that point of we call it nothingness, ayin. But that's where intelligence, that's where it's rooted from. That's where it comes from. So chokhmah is the power of ma, koach ma. Koach ma is the power of ma. And that's what we do on the Seder night. We say the ma nishtana, that we're children, we're behema, and we say the ma nishtana, and we start communicating, we start tapping into our chokhmah, we start tapping into our basically higher self, and we start speaking. And through that speech we become healed. It's like the therapy. We become what do you call it? We get rejuvenated, through our speech. We go through those 1,820 words, and we come out at the end of the Seder. Okay, 4 cups of wine help do it. and matzah also like is a 1-2 punch, and maror, does the job on you. But it takes you to a level of like, wow, I was just like catapulted. I just jumped over all these restrictions. I just jumped over, myself essentially, and I jumped, and I now connected to something which is much higher than myself, much greater than myself. And that's what we take from, that's what we do on the Seder night. That's what we do on Pesach, right? Pesach, we're speaking. We become healed through our speech, right? So I just want to mention that Nisan, as I said it before, Nisan is Pesach twice. We've got Pesach of coming out of Egypt. That's one level, but there's also another level of Pesach coming out of Egypt, like it says, that in the redemption that we're in right now, we're also going to see great, amazing miracles like there were in Egypt. I mean, we're actually kind of like seeing it now. If you open up our eyes, we see unbelievable miracles all around us. But that's the second form of redemption, and that's what's going on today. Today we have this communication, like I said before, like communication is like booming, like at such exponential speeds. Everybody's communicating, wants to communicate, wants to like express, and it becomes much easier for somebody to express and to connect to so many more people around them all around the world in an unbelievable way, a way that our grandparents never have imagined. Even our parents wouldn't have imagined.
Sometimes good things, sometimes bad. Because when they're taking it into excess, now you see people like almost not communicating at all.
Exactly.
Technology. It's like overrunning the whole entire life. So if you go to extremes,
exactly, 100%. How many people you're talking to? You're like, oh, just 1 second. They're talking to them and they're texting on their phone. Or they get a call. The call is more important than you. You just had a conversation with them. So for sure. So that's why we have a way to go of how to properly communicate, and that's why people get into a wrong assumption that we are tremendously lucky to be in this age. We are 100%, but they get like, oh, we're so lucky, and we're in like a redemptive age, and that we are, but they forget that if they just take the communication and for granted, they're not going to know how to do it, because if you're not tapping into yourself, then you're not ever going to really communicate something of substance. So you've got all the channels, all the social medias and all of this and that, but it's not really communicating anything so special. You're just communicating what you had for breakfast. Who cares? Or another bad news on what happened over there. Like, why do I need to hear that? Why do I need to see that? You're communicating what, about this, about all types of stuff, which is kind of like useless. Really.
This is good though, because like a lot of rabbis, they're doing it the right way. They're sharing like what they learned of the Torah portion, so they're using it for good things.
Yes.
The nonsense is not important. That's not meaningful.
It's not meaningful. Exactly.
You're using it the right way and in proportion, so everything is turning out fine. You're balancing your life. You're having
100%.
relationships with people, real, not sitting like maniac. Some people, they're not associating at all. They're just on the computer 24/7.
100%.
Just a tool.
Yeah, but that's easier said than done. It's just a tool. Yeah, but you'll become addicted to it really quickly. I mean, if we didn't have Shabbat and we didn't put our smartphone to rest and turn it off, you would be insane. Where Shabbat is turning off your iPhone, turning off your thing. You don't go online. You don't go on anything like that. Your brain recharges. Your brain becomes normal again. Seriously. They say this is the point of, they say that one day of our lives, in the lives that we live in now, was more than a whole lifetime of our ancestors that ever lived like thousands of years ago. The whole lifetime of excitement. In other words, in one day of what we, like the stimuli that we receive from all modes of communication in one day is more than a whole lifetime of our ancestors. That a whole lifetime. And think about it. What was so exciting? They got a new cow. You know, the daughter got married. You know, that was the big, you know, the big thing. There was a child that was born. That was exciting. But besides that, you're going through just quietness of life, and just there isn't so much. But right now, our minds are just like so stimulated, and our brains are just, you know.
But in a way, that's good because you were less stressed. You have less things to stress about.
They were, you're saying.
Yeah, they were less stressed.
Yes, but we could say that they were just ignorant, and they were ignorant, very possibly ignorant, because they didn't have the knowledge that we now have. On my phone, I could learn anything that I want. I could find out any piece of information on any given subject and have experts speak to me and talk about it, and just that's amazing.
Well, Rabbi, they did have like excitement. They had like chased chickens down for days.
Again, drone I don't do, and chickens I don't do either. Just chasing them.
Yeah, Sean Miller chased the donkey for like
Okay.
2 days.
No, but it's all about the balance.
It's the balance.
Even if they didn't have a lot of excitement, but they might have gone through a whole winter waiting for rain.
Yeah.
And it was the same amount of agony that you're stressed out with in like a few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, there was no, for sure. And they didn't have,
Just speaking on a different like time zone maybe, or like.
what we're talking about, like in terms of like our stimuli in the brain, brain chemistry, like whatever output. I don't, you know, for us, one day like equals a whole lifetime of somebody else, of thousands. It's crazy.
Like information processing.
Yeah. So the question is, so it's easier said than done. You know, oh, it's just a tool, but it's not. You're right. But how do you do it? So now, so this is what I want to leave you off with, you know, something practical, take away. And that is, how do we properly utilize these tools and have that Pesach, that communication, that proper communication, is when we dig in within ourselves and we have our personal we're connected with our inner self, with our higher self, with that place that we call crown, that place that we call our essence, our soul. How do we, when we delve into our soul, so then we express ourselves, because the expression now, whatever expression, if it's in speech or if it's in music or it's in whatever modes of expression that you have, communicating online through social, whatever it is that you're doing is real. And that's the most important thing, is to do things which are real. And if something is real, so then it's good. It's good regardless of who likes it. Also, we live in a time that's such a symptom. We need to have likes. And if people don't like what we're posting, so then we feel embarrassed and we feel this and that.
Yeah.
But if you're really doing something true, who the heck cares if anybody else likes it or not? If it's the real thing and you really want to put it out there, put it out there. I'm serious. But people are embarrassed to put things out there because maybe I won't get likes, maybe I this and that, or right, or whatever. But that's fake. But also, on the other hand, don't put things out there just in order to make, to make people just fake stuff like everybody else is doing. If that's what you really, if that's what you're into. So that's a very practical, I think, takeaway, is for us to be able to reach into our communication, and that's the theme. That's this holiday of Pesach, is tapping into our communication, our true mode of communication. Each and every one of us has the ability to tap into that and to communicate properly with our friends. And like you said before, helping others and communicating to others, helping that, having that effect on others is only if you are connected to yourself first, properly. But if you're not connected to yourself first, then the expression and the, what you're able to do for them is just only goes a certain way. So that's the number one lesson of tonight is for us to dig deep and to really become connected
I'm so happy.
Yeah, thank God. Hashem.
Baruch
Thank
Hashem.
God. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Good. So you got it. So number 2 lesson. We're gonna stop here. Number 2 lesson is for us to not to be afraid to communicate, because our communication, whatever it is who we are. So regardless of people, with whether people like it or it matters to people or it doesn't matter to other people, who cares? If that's what you are, that's who you are. Be yourself and express it to others. And that's a form of redemption. So I want to bless everybody. We should all be our true higher selves, godly self, and express that and bring it out to everybody around us, and to utilize this era that we're in, communication age, and to really utilize it in the proper way. And when more and more people do that in the world, there's going to become like a revolution of proper communication, where things are going to all the fake communication, we call schmutz, that's out there, is going to be now just transformed with positive communication, the highest communication of Torah, communication of words of depth, of wisdom, of the Torah of Hashem, and Malar's death Hashem. So we're getting there. So let's get to Mashiach now, and Bezat Hashem, we should all leap out of our boundaries and restrictions to the complete Geula, Shlema B'Meir V'Ameinu. Amen. Mamish.
I have 3